Right. Good afternoon here. I don't know. In America, it's morning, I presume.
It is.
Yes, wonderful. I have with me today Stephanie and Tim. Now, Tim's the important one because he's recovered. He's a survivor for 3 years, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. Yes.
Fantastic. Stephanie is like every other carer going. She's the one who's there, but doesn't actually have a specific role in life. Although, yeah, yes, you do. It's a very important role. You're there for Tim, just like my family are there for me. Okay, so today we're talking about not Tim and not Stephanie. We're talking about Stephanie and Tim, right? Because there's most people out there are not like me who's single, who nobody loves me. Most people out there have got somebody who does love them. No, somebody does love me, trust me. But the key is you are working as a team. You are not in the background, right? You are together, because those people that I know in my life help me cope. And I'm sure Tim will say exactly the same about Stephanie in his life.
One of the reasons why I'm alive.
Exactly.
The main reason.
Okay. So, would you like to tell a little bit about your story, Tim, and Stephanie?
Yeah, sure. So I've always dealt with acid reflux, heartburn, and through the years, and it's always been fine taking stuff over the counter and whatnot. It's always done the job. And then I had scheduled for a colonoscopy at the age of 52. And my doctor said, hey, as long as you're going to be out, why don't we schedule endoscopy and just do two at once? And I said, that sounds brilliant, right? Get rid of it, get a check. I'll be done for 10 years. Well, they found some scarring in my esophagus, and he just said, I'm going to put you on Prilosec for the rest of your life. So just take that, come back and see me 10 years later. And 8 years after the endoscopy, I ended up I couldn't swallow.
I know,
and so
it's horrible.
Yeah, horrible, right? And we have a fabulous team, a fabulous GP, and he was immediately got us in for endoscopy, and it was during COVID, so we had to do a COVID check first, and then shortly after that, the endoscopy, and then that put in place a whole plan, and I was fortunate enough because during the endoscopy, they didn't wait for the biopsies. They called Stephanie in, and the doctor said, I think, and he said, nope, I know that it's esophageal cancer. And so they were able to put things in place before the biopsies returned from the lab. And fortunate for us, one of my neighbors is the head of radio-oncology at our cancer center.
That's helpful. Yeah.
We had a lot of helpful moments.
Very, very put together. And so we ended up, had a team in place almost immediately. This is my diagnosis was a week before Christmas. And I started my procedure the 8th of January.
Fantastic. That's faster than mine. So I'm impressed. And I'm impressed with mine, because, doctors don't rush, but these did. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to roll Tim back a little bit in that story too, because when Tim turned 60, almost 60, because he was diagnosed at 60, but right before I said to his doctor, Tim's family has a lot of cancer. Would you want to check him for prostate cancer? Because I know that that's, typical male cancer. And he said, no, because if I check him, I'll find it. Anyone after 60 has the markers. And I said, oh, okay, well, we won't do that. And shortly after, Tim started saying, I'm having trouble swallowing. And I remember the first time I looked it up, I found nothing about cancer, which was.
Yeah, mine was right at the very, very bottom.
Yeah. And at the time, quite truthfully, it was a bit of a godsend that we didn't find out. It took the next time, like 6 months later, when he mentioned it again, actually at the time, he was no longer having heartburn. He wasn't taking heartburn meds. And we didn't know that was a symptom as well. But when he mentioned it again, I looked it up, and that was the time that like my computer lit up with, oh no, I think Tim has something really bad here. And that's how we actually got in really quickly. Like we were talking, we were talking earlier about the systems in America versus the systems in UK. And it is tough here because no one gives you a path. You have to like claw up a hill to find.
And from your point of view, which we don't have, you have to find money for it, right?
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't. Some people carry private medical insurance. Yes, I agree. But generally, this is all of my treatment is not cost me a penny. I hadn't even had to think about it. It's a matter of there. I mean, even to the extent where they give me a little tag to pay for the parking when I'm going in for my chemotherapy. So I don't even have to pay for my bloody parking.
That's nice.
But that I must admit, that surprised me because they tend to be a bit money grabbing on the parking. So when I got that ticket, I was thinking, oh, I feel special.
Yeah.
Just like the lottery, right?
One little thing, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and did you think, it's a bloody parking ticket, but you've been over the moon about just a parking ticket. But that's one of the things that I think most people will find whenever there's doom and gloom around.
Mm-hmm.
Silly little things can make you absolutely over the moon happy.
Oh, joy.
It's like now I watch movies and I've got tears flowing down my eyes.
Yep.
And I was telling my friend, I sort of said, I'm getting emotional. She's started getting worried. I said, no, I mean happiness, emotional. I don't think she quite realized that I meant I'm crying at stupid bloody things, but I do, and I don't care. It is a wonderful side effect of problems in life, is that you find joys somewhere.
It's different than happiness. It's joy. It's true. It's real, and it's love.
Yeah,
we cried at everything for 3 years.
Yeah, it was. And together, because it's we are a team, and it's a hard thing to go through, but it was and we still do it you never leave it, and it just kind of.
No, I mean my part of my problem is that my mum's still alive. She's 91 and she lives here, and so I have to be careful what I say at 91, because my brother, who we're like an old world family, because myself and my older brother, we got Richard's wife died from cancer, but he'd already moved to Australia, sold out everything, and basically all of his money went. So eventually he came back here. I've been divorced twice, so other women have my money, but maybe not as much as they would like to have had, but so consequently we ended up here. It's not because we have to necessarily be here, but isn't it better to be with family than it is on your own on there? So so now I have to be, as a cancer sufferer, I have to be aware of Richard's and Mum's feelings, which says, no, it's wonderful to simply say, you're not the only one who suffered, right? Be aware that other people suffer at the same time as you. because of your problem. And this is Stephanie's, is the person who suffers because of Tim's cancer, right? And I mean, anyone who's just listened to this last couple of minutes or so can see the bond between you two. It's incredible. I had the joy of talking to them a lot longer than you lot have. So, you know, I've seen it, and it really is impressive. And you have obviously a very, very strong marriage. And, you know, with the best will in the world, I hate you for it because I haven't got a strong marriage, but, you know, but in essence, no, of course I don't. I think it's fantastic to see a strong married couple who've gone through the sort of problems that you've gone through, right? Because you and me and any other sufferer knows exactly that although you're a survivor now, it's like an alcoholic. You're always an alcoholic.
Yeah. True.
And that is, well, it keeps you grounded, right? Because you cannot make assumptions. But the great thing about that is it means you can enjoy every single moment.
And that's exactly what we do.
That's the power.
Yeah.
You know, you have a choice to make too. And I will tell you that when Tim was diagnosed, I went beside myself. I cried for days and days and days. And I was very active, like I did everything he needed. I got all the plans together. I talked to all the doctors, but I cried and
I can imagine.
I couldn't eat. And people were super worried about me. And I was like, no, this is my process. I need to go through this process.
Yeah.
And there was one day when I was in the closet by myself and I was on the floor and I was just a mess. I was just crying in the closet, and I don't do things like that very often. And Tim came in and he found me and he literally picked me up and he said, "Don't ever cry by yourself again." And I was crying by myself because I didn't want him to know how much I hurt. And then he said, "I'm going to hurt with you." And we did that the whole time. And it was such a gift to get to hurt together. And, you know, it was beautiful. And it's so strange. I was thinking, you made me think earlier about movies. When Tim got sick, we couldn't watch things, you know, like all of a sudden the world changes, like cancer, depression, you know, people, death. And I was like, the world is real and I suffer with everyone, but for us in our little tiny cave, I need some joy. So we watched British Bake Off, which the irony was that Tim couldn't eat.
I am a chef, so you know you talk nicely about baking.
We watched it and we laughed and we enjoyed. And I would remember thinking, will I ever eat any of that again? Because I was trying to eat what he was eating. But it brought us such joy and we would laugh. And it took like the pressure, you know, no pressure, just happy, in even sorrow in there, but joy. It's a key to it all.
You really look back, it's a complicated world. And when you're at our stages, you look at it and the simple things in life, you know, it just flips. So no longer is the world becomes what you live, your family, you know, your friends, and it's amazing to see like in our particular neighborhood, we had so much food delivered. I mean, it was like people just wanted to help. It was absolutely one of the most amazing things.
And we didn't.
That's one of the nice things I know about America is that neighbors bring food in America. They don't here. It used to be because, in fact, about a week ago, Mum was talking about when she made some food for somebody who moved in. And they looked at it in absolute shock and horror. What the hell are you doing? But and anyway, but sorry, that just it was
no, but I think you touched on that earlier. You know, just it really, the simple things in life really become the main focus, and
all the muck goes away.
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, together. This actually my professional life, I would be gone half the month. And so the last 8 years, we have been away from each other maybe 4 nights in the last 8
Wow,
years.
that's also makes damn certain that if you did any doubt in that love, it would have come out by now.
That's true.
It's really, it's an incredible journey.
Yeah.
It really is. But
I mean, that's why there's a lot of divorces when retirement occurs.
Yeah.
And also a lot of deaths, but that might be for a different reason. Wife saying, I've had enough of you. But yeah, it is. And to be able to spend that time together, so intense, right? At a time when life is intense, because that is one of the things that I have experienced, is that when you get that diagnosis, life becomes important, very important. And that's something you're not used to doing. I mean, I'm 70, so I'm older than you. And I hadn't even thought about my death. Now I have.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready yet, so it's not going to happen yet. And that's the view I've taken, is that I'm not ready yet. It's not time. Not certain there'll ever be a time when I am ready, but in simple terms, I still have ambitions. I still have drives, determinations, motivations. And I thought it was supposed to go when you get retired, but it doesn't, does it? And I'm glad, because and the cancer is just, as it were, shining a light on it. So I actually don't mind the cancer. I mind the possible prospect of what it could do, but I don't mind the cancer because it has actually helped me to be aware of myself better. I mean, somebody on Facebook, one of the groups I'm in, sort of said, "What are you listening to today?" And this was yesterday on Sunday. And I said, myself. And that's exactly what I was doing. I love who I am. I'm not perfect, but I love who I am. And I'm not planning to give up on life. And the reason I'm doing these podcasts with myself and with people like these two, Tim and Stephanie, is that you shouldn't give in. You should never, ever give in. Don't. Okay? Because I know these two will say that exactly to you as well. And every single person who I'm going to interview, I know they will say that as well. Never, never give up. Because there's no reason to give up. Because you never know what's around the corner.
That's right.
And hell, if you're in the early stages, don't see the worst.
That's right.
Right. As far as I was concerned, I'd seen this long list, like Stephanie, I'd seen this long list of things that could cause the swallowing problem, because that's exactly how I discovered my cancer. And I thought, yeah, that could be me. That could be me. No, that's not me. That's not me. And we don't want that one. And basically, I went through it all, and because I've had a digestive problem all my life, constipation, not going, and so forth. Or literally, my mom used to sort of say, "No, you didn't fill your nappy. You had rabbit droppings from when you were young." And then going back to something we discussed earlier about a relationship I have with my own GP practice. I went in to see one of the senior partners. I didn't know it was one of the senior partners at the time, and I started talking. That wasn't why I was there, but I started talking about my digestive problems. And she just looked at the computer, says, "Doesn't say you've got anything here. So if there's nothing on here, unless I tell you you've got it, you haven't got anything."
Oh.
I said, "What?" unless she tells me I'm ill, I'm not ill. And as you can imagine, the contempt I had for that doctor, I can't see the top of it on there. And what a terrible thing to say to anyone. But unfortunately, some doctors do get the impression that they know more about your body than you do. And believe it or not, they don't. Because, well, I've lived with mine for 70 years. So I tend to know what goes on with my body and when it's wrong and when it's right. I may not know this disease. I may not know this. I may not know that. But I know my body and you don't. Specifically and especially when you don't even look at your screen when you come in, because I booked an appointment with you. And what's the first thing doctors say when you get in there? And why are you here, Mr. Ayres? And you said, I say, didn't you look at the screen while I said why I'm coming here? And that is when doctors do a bad job. But as we've talked about earlier, doctors do a magic job as well. But don't put up with the bad ones. I'm going to stop the thing because I know Tim's got an appointment and it's running very close to it now, and because I kept talking. Bad boy. On there. And Tim, Stephanie, absolutely fantastic to meet you. I hope we can talk again in the future. And thank you for sharing with my audience. It's at that size at the moment, but I'm appearing on different websites shortly, so it hopefully will start going up.
Well, we love agreeing with you. Thank you, Keith. Thank you so much.
Very nice to meet you, Keith. And let's get the word out because it is something that needs to get out.
Yes, it is.